Welcome once again to Lehto's Law. Here's Steve Lehto.
Steve, not me, sent me a note. Said, Steve, did you see the story out of the Great Northwest? And I said, no, I had not seen that. But it's an interesting one from KIRO TV, Channel 7 News. Dee Dee's son wrote it. Botched tree removal job destroys Bellevue home. Now, you might be thinking, oh, someone's trying to chop down a tree in their own property and they destroyed their own house. Well, that would be an interesting story, but this is even more interesting because they destroyed the house next door that belonged to a neighbor of the property where the tree was coming down. And this was someone trying to cut corners, and by cutting corners, they caused devastation. A tree removal job went terribly wrong in Bellevue on Monday, sending a Douglas fir that was 140 feet tall crashing down into a home in the Newport Hills neighborhood. 140-foot tall pine tree. Boom! Right down on top of the next door neighbor's house. The neighbor who owns the tree told KIRO7 he was hoping to get the tree cut down for free in exchange for the wood. So didn't want to bring in the big guns that would cost a lot of money. And so he basically said, I want to know if I can get someone who will just do it if they get to keep the wood. And so somebody apparently said, sure, I'll do that. Yeah. Come in and chop your tree down if you let me keep the wood. It ended with his neighbor's home getting destroyed. Sarah Jacobson said she and her husband both worked from home, but she was running an errand when the incident happened in her house right before lunchtime. The tree sliced through the whole house. It was just shocking. The tree smashed through the roof onto the furniture below in the living room. Jacobson said that's where she often works when she's home, but it was her husband who heard the crash from another room. It was really loud, and then just got progressively louder. As the tree settled, more and more was coming in. Then the rain and hail was coming through. It was really crazy. Not sure why you're chopping a tree down during a hailstorm, but that's another story altogether. Company called in to get the tree out. Said the tree was nearly 3 feet in diameter at its widest. The crew had to bring in a massive crane to get the tree removed from the house. And that's talking about the second tree service company, because the first entity was trying to chop the tree down in exchange for the wood. When they dropped it on the house next door, these people had to bring in the pros who brought in a crane. Apparently they know what they're doing. So the tree was on Jacobson's neighbor's property, and that neighbor didn't want to speak on camera, but had told KIRO7 he needed the tree removed because it shed branches onto his roof. And those branches on your roof, you gotta understand how annoying that is. When you get branches and pine needles, he didn't mention pine needles, but I'm sure there's pine needles too. But he got branches and stuff dropped on his roof from his pine tree, so the house next door gets destroyed. He was hoping the removal could be done for free. Instead, he posted online asking for someone to do the job in exchange for the ability to keep the wood. He told KIRO7 someone accepted, came by on Monday, and started doing the work in windy conditions. And I guess those windy conditions preceded the hail and the rain. But the neighbor said about half an hour in, the person cutting the tree told him the situation was out of control and suggested they call in a full tree removal crew. But it was too late, and the tree came crashing down on the Jacobsons' home. Half the house is completely destroyed. We sadly just finished a kitchen remodel and kind of remodeling here. That's the wife, the Jacobson next door. She said it wasn't clear yet if the rest of the home would be structurally sound enough to be saved or if the whole home is lost. Jacobson said the person cutting down the tree looked young and may have been about college age. Problem tree specialist Mike Green said people need to watch out for those who work without a license or aren't bonded or have no insurance. If a customer doesn't check that you can work without it, it's not legal and it's not right. And you will pay the price, said Green, who owns a company called Hitman Tree, LLC. He said you should always check reviews and trust your gut. If the customer's going, oh my God, if this doesn't work, it's going to ruin this or that. If you're feeling that way, you should stop it. You should say, stop. And that's the exact quote right there. Jacobson said they now have to figure out where to live, but she's grateful that no one got hurt, at least. Nobody was impaled, so it's a miracle. The neighbor who owned that tree said the person who tried to cut it down does not have insurance, and he doesn't know if the worker had a license. Meanwhile, KIRO7 asked another tree service how much it would have cost to have the tree brought down professionally by somebody who knew what they were doing. And they said it would be a 5 or 6 person job costing up to $4,000. And the sad part here is the neighbor who owned the tree that fell on the neighbor's house says that the person he hired doesn't have insurance and he doesn't know if they had a license. Both questions he could have asked before the job was started. Do you have a license and are you insured? And I suspect he didn't ask those questions because he didn't care. And I actually met somebody who had put together flyers for a business they were going to run. And they were handing these flyers out. And I looked at one of the flyers and it says, here's the job we'll do. And it says bonded and insured. And I asked the guy, you're bonded? And he goes, like this. He gave me the old nipper, listening for his master's voice thing. I go, you're bonded? And he goes, bonded? I go, yes, this is right here, bonded and insured. And he goes, what does that mean? And I go, well, insured is you have insurance. Bonded means that you've got someone who's posted a bond, or you've posted a bond with a bonding company, but there's money set aside as a bond to assure that you either finish your job or you can pay for damages you cause. So you'd have a bonding company most likely doing that. He goes, wow, I never knew that. I go, so are you bonded? And he goes, apparently not. Why did you put it on the flyer? And he goes, all the flyers I've seen from my competitors always say that. He goes, I just thought that was a term of art. I go, what do you think a term of art means? Do you know what a term of art means? Like, what do you think that means? That someone else says it, you say it too? But clearly what's happening here, and this doesn't take tree surgery to figure this out. What happened here is this guy's got this tree out, big tree out in his yard, and to bring it down professionally is going to cost $4,000. And somebody or he came up with the idea and said, you know something? There's a lot of lumber in that tree that someone might be able to use. Maybe I can trade the lumber for the job. But that doesn't necessarily bring out the most qualified people to do the job. So someone shows up and goes, I can do that. And apparently they showed up by themselves. One person. And as pointed out by the experts, it might have taken 5 or 6 people to do that. And I've actually known people who worked for tree trimming services. They would trim trees, they would chop down trees, they would do all kinds of stuff. And I know what goes into this. And trees are kind of unpredictable at times. And I realize that a pro who's been doing it for 40 years can walk up to a tree and look at it and go, yeah, I can drop that tree right there. And they can do it. But some kid who's been doing this for all of about half an hour isn't going to be able to do that. And so that's your problem. And one of the things about this is, and I've got a chainsaw. I'll tell you right now, I've got a chainsaw. It's one of my favorite toys. And I've got 2 brothers who have chainsaws. Between the 3 of us, we've got like 15 chainsaws. Amongst them, a couple of home lights with bars like this long. And I've actually been where we've gone out and we're chopping trees up. Not just for the fun of it, but, go out on a piece of property, there's a tree that's felled, and we're going to dice it up and haul the wood away. Great opportunity. We call it a chainsaw party. So my brothers and I have a chainsaw party. We're playing with chainsaws. But also, one of my brothers has got a big piece of property with big trees on it. And we've been out there before. And I mentioned before I had an army truck. And I also used to have a house that had a fireplace in it. So every winter I'd stock up on firewood. And I called up my brother one day and I said, hey, can I come up with my army truck and get some firewood from you? He said, absolutely. So I drive my army truck to my brother's place, bring it onto his property, and we go looking for trees. And he's got a bunch of dead trees that are still standing. And he goes, we'll take down a couple of the dead trees and dice them up and you can bring them back and make good firewood. So we're walking around out there and we come upon a tree, and it's about this big around, a pretty large tree, but about 20, 30 feet up. It's been topped. And I forgot if he said it got snapped off in a storm or struck by lightning or something. The tree is dead, but it's still standing. And so this is at the top of a little slope that goes down to a river. And my brother breaks out the chainsaw. And at one point he takes a break and I go, hey, you know something? I go, where is this tree going to fall? Like, which way is it going to go? And he goes, I'm going to drop it right. And he points. He goes, I'm going to drop it right there. right there, right in front of us. It's like, okay. So he fires a chainsaw up again, and the tree goes, wham, the exact opposite direction, rolls down the thing, and gets into the river. And he goes, we'll find another tree. The point is that even people who are experienced with this stuff, working by themselves, can't always do it perfectly. And so what the 5 or 6 people would have been doing, most likely, would have been going up and removing this thing piece by piece, but also watching and maybe tying ropes and pulling and doing all kinds of other stuff. But the point is that for 6 professionals to do it for $4,000, that job's going to look a lot different than one kid doing it in exchange for the wood. Okay? So the sad news is we don't know if the kid was insured or bonded. And of course, the next door neighbor might now be wondering if he's on the hook for bringing somebody in unqualified who destroyed his neighbor's house. And I know many of you are going to say, but Steve, the homeowner probably has homeowner's insurance. Oh yeah, they do. But a lot of people forget that the insurance company, when they pay a claim, have got the right to go out and chase the person who is liable for the claim. If it's not the homeowner, they go after somebody else. So the kid, I'm saying this specifically to delineate him from the guy who hired him, but the kid who chopped the tree down is obviously the most culpable here, the most liable here, assuming these facts are as they were presented in the news story. But likewise, the neighbor hired him, so there's possibly some liability there. So that's one of the reasons, and your takeaway from the story very well could be, when you go to hire somebody to work in your yard or in your house, and if they can cause any harm, you want to find out if, in fact, they are really bonded and insured, not just a term of art. And also, make sure that insurance part is correct. Because if they harm your own house, that's one thing. If they destroy your neighbor's house, that's another. So, Steve, thanks for sending it. KIRO7 ran it. Dee Dee's son wrote it. And now these people are trying to figure out if they can even save their house. But botched tree removal's job destroys Bellevue home. Questions or comments, put them below. Let's talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you for watching Lehto's Law. May the Schwartz be with you.